Greetings of exuberance, everybody. Today's guest is Yanni Banzon. In high school, I got to know Yanni from English class and from joining the same high school production as her. I've enjoyed a few brief conversations with Yanni in the past, but I never really got the time to properly get to know her or exchange perspectives. About all I really knew about Yanni was that she played Dungeons and Dragons, liked theater, and did great voiceovers of Shakespeare in English class. That was about it. Nonetheless, I'm glad I reached out to Yanni and had a conversation with her because I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know her. We discussed where in Spain Yanni is currently, what major she's studying, philosophy, economics, and political science, which is her major, culture shock, Europe versus the Philippines, how to help the Philippines develop, the impact of colonialism in the Philippines, what's special about the Filipino community. I know there's a running theme here. Potato corner, gaming, theater, and much more. So I'd encourage everyone to just, I don't know, join us for a fun, wholesome conversation and to just listen in their own time. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Cheers, everyone. Hey, welcome, Yanni, to a brave, adventurous, ordinary podcast. Where are
Hello.
you right now, Yanni?
Um, I'm in Segovia right now. It's a really historic town, Um, it's right outside of Madrid, like 30 minute, I think an hour 30 drive, 30-minute by train. And, it's really scenic, really beautiful. It has architecture from like the first century or something. I don't know, really old. I'm just in my dorm right now, my school dorms. It's
What?
very bright outside.
Wow. Did you travel around the city at all? In near Madrid. I'll say near Madrid. Before you started school.
Um, Honestly, it was just straight to Segovia. I visited Madrid once, but like, not really. Like, I visited there like I think Plaza Mayor. It's a very touristy area, but it's very pretty and the water's really good there.
Why did you choose to study in Spain actually? Because, well, there's that component to it, and then the other component, which I'd like to bring up as well, is you are studying law, philosophy, economics, and political science, right? So,
Yeah.
w- did the degree choose the spot, or did you choose the spot because it was nice?
First of all, the thing is with my program, PPLE, right? It's not really common because everywhere else, their equivalent is PPE. So you don't have the law component of that. This
Mm.
school's kind of like unique in that it also offers law with that. Yeah, IE is pretty unique. My second choice for school, and I would have gone if I had the if I got the scholarship, but University of Wisconsin Madison. So it's they're both like very big changes for me. So I guess like part of it was I kind of wanted to experience something new, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
that is college life, right? Experiencing new things.
it also like compared to my other options, IE was the cheapest because American tuition. What?
American tuition.
Yeah.
Uh, I actually talked to another person recently about American tuition, and we got into a debate actually whether American tuition was fair or not, whether education or higher education nowadays was overpriced or not. I gave the stance that I thought it was heavily overpriced, and I just didn't think that the average regular college student would justify paying like 100 grand a year, even for the best professors in a top-notch library. like
Exactly.
it just, yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure like secondary, like uh, undergrad. I think it especially in the states it uses the same thing as their like insurance, the way that American insurance works, health insurance. They like price it really high with the assumption that you're gonna have loans, you're gonna have scholarships, you're gonna have all of this stuff, right? But
Yes.
then most of the time, especially like people from like international students, they don't have that. We don't get FAFSA. A lot of scholarships are closed to us because we're not, U.S. citizens. So, I think it's like really good quality of education, but honestly, not really worth it. Networking is worth it though.
Yeah, networking is worth it. And I mean, if we're talking geographically, the place like the US does open up opportunities, but you are looking to make opportunities in less developed countries, right? Because
Yeah.
like not too long ago, we legit had the conversation about what you wanted to do after your degree, and I was under the impression that studying law and philosophy, you were gonna do something, strictly law, or you mentioned developmental psychology. I was like, oh yeah, Yanni might become a psychologist. But then you mentioned to me that you wanted to work with developing countries and giving them opportunities. Do you expound a little bit on that?
Um, I was kind of raised in that environment. My dad, he works with ADB, Asian Development Bank, right now. Um,
Mm,
but he used to work with the World Health Organization. My mom used to work with UNICEF, specifically with like disaster relief and stuff like that. So I've always been sort of around dev work, social work. It's like something which like the values like I was raised with, right, helping the less fortunate, getting them to be able to support themselves, right.
mm.
So I think that partly influenced my decision, right.
Yeah.
uh and also when you like, or specifically, especially now that I'm here in Spain, it's like I
Yes.
can drink the tap water. I can walk around places. I don't need a car, right? There, like, I go to the river, right? And there's a slow moving river. It's like pretty still, but it's like it's clean. There's no trash or anything. People fish in it. Like it's right. It's a
Holy.
5 minute walk, and they're fishing in the river. Like it's crazy.
Holy crap. To European, like, listeners or whoever, like, hearing this might sound, oh yeah, just another day in the life. But to Filipino kids who have lived in the Philippines their entire lives, we cannot in fact drink tap water. We will die of cholera. And um and I guess we do have a few scenic places here, right, Yanni? It's
Yeah.
just not as accessible.
Exactly. Like here you can just walk down. Like the most scenic places in the Philippines, you have to like go to more of like the provincial areas, or sort of the touristy areas like Batangas, Boracay, right? Like here it's
Yes.
just down there.
Dang, that sounds so nice.
It's fun.
So, oh, okay. Let me not get too ahead of myself because
Yeah.
I can. Um, what are you planning to do though? Like, obviously you're still around 4 years away from actually thinking about this, or you might be thinking about this already, but how can you help these developing countries, as you say? Um, let's not limit it to the Philippines, unless you
Yeah.
you want to limit it to the Philippines. But how do you plan on helping these impoverished communities and less fortunate communities with the leverage that you have right now or will have?
Big thing for me, like personally, I think sort of this, especially with the economics part of my degree, I think
Yeah,
allocating more resources to these communities is especially important. I think also, I don't have like a specific plan, but fun fact, and this is kind of limiting it to the Philippines. The Philippines has one of the highest literacy rates in like the world. You can read, like everyone can read,
yeah.
but one of it has one of like the lowest sort of comprehension rates in the world. People can read, because they learn how to read, but they don't understand what things mean and stuff, right? I
Oh
think
my
sort
gosh.
of yeah, I think sort of supporting education, sort of helping putting policies in place that can fund that. My mom works in public health right now, right? And one
Yes.
of the things that she was telling me is that in medical school in the Philippines, like nursing, medtech, doctors, all of that, they have a dropout rate of almost like 70%, I think. So that's really
Oh,
high. Yeah. So, first of all, we want to make it sort of more appealing to get an education and also help people, like support people enough that they're able to finish their education. Because I think education's a really big part of like, helping a community, right?
yes. Yeah, there was one thing I heard. It was from another podcast, but some lady just said if or this might be someone like in history who is a quotable. I don't know. I'm not that cultured, but it basically said if you want to see a city flourish or a place flourish, build a university, build an education center, and wait a
Exactly.
hundred to 200 years.
Yeah, basically, honestly. And I feel like the Philippines, we have one of the oldest universities in Asia. I think, if not the oldest,
Really?
UST, right? Wait, let me fact check this.
That
Wait a
that
minute.
is that's around like 15 minutes away from my house. The
Is it?
University of yeah, University of Santo Tomas. Um just while you're searching that up, I feel like it is incumbent on me to it is the old
It's
okay.
in Asia.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's incumbent on me to bring up the fact one of the nice points that you brought up. A lot of students or a lot of people in the Philippines, we have the highest literacy rate, but we have the lowest, you said, comprehension rate. And I just feel like that is why universities like UST have such a high like burnout rate because I've heard it. A big problem here is that professors and the education system just piles you up with a whole bunch of like knowledge, and the curriculums are super rigorous, and you kind of like don't know why you're doing it. Like
Exactly.
I read a Reddit post, and it was like they were a pre-med student, but it was mandatory to learn about Philippine history and Philippine geography like in the course. And you couldn't choose which subjects you wanted to learn about. Like first year it was packed with mandatory courses that you had to learn. Um and so that is a problem in education, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think like obviously the general education, that's like very useful and stuff, right? But limiting it to only like a few options, like, have you seen the options for like PE classes in like UP Ateneo?
No, I have not. I've
Okay,
heard of PE
they're
classes,
so
but
their PE
go on
classes
the
are so
tangent.
good. Okay, I have a friend that studies in Ateneo, and one of her classes is literally her just playing games, like like Pictionary. Like one time she asked me to help with her homework, and her homework was play Pictionary on Zoom together, which is we have so many options. Back when I was like considering Ateneo and like UP, those kind of schools, they're like I would look into their PE listings. It's like pole dancing, yoga, all of this stuff, right? Board games,
Yeah,
whatever. It's so much stuff, and then you look at the other courses like history, and you don't get that kind of options. You don't get that kind of flexibility.
really. Well,
Yeah,
I would say that is a big leap in physical education and mental well-being, right?
yeah,
Except for the fact that it's not necessarily translating into the other courses. It's a start for sure,
yeah.
though. Well, it's still mandatory for them to take on PE class. So, my question to you, and I want to relate this back to a course that we did, and
Yeah.
that we were in the same class together. The most wonderful place, or the most wonderful course in Brent, language and literature.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we used to call it Langlit. It's basically an IB course where you have to dissect a whole bunch. You have to basically put global issues into the everyday classroom, which I think is a useful skill. But what do you think about, here in the Philippines, the, I guess, let's say health standards, beauty standards here, because it is something we've really talked about in class. The cultural standards here, like, do you have any opinions on that here? Because I'd be really interested to hear them.
Honestly, my opinion's probably like really basic. The like, obviously colorism insane in the Philippines.
Right.
Product of colonialism, all of that stuff. Beauty stand here. The thing is with beauty standards is we're often judging them, from like our perspective, which is like a lot of like local people they'll see like people who are paler, people who have more Eurocentric features as beautiful. But I think we've gotten to a point where we're like show. Obviously, it's amazing that we're showcasing people who are like like Morena, right? So it's that's
Yes.
amazing. I love that, but I think there's like a big problem because now it's always been a problem because there's like just a huge influx of like people who are like looking for exotic women, and then they see this, right, they see this shift in like beauty standards, and
Yeah.
especially because like like the Philippines, right, it's getting to a point where I feel like a lot of times it's like fetishization instead of
Yeah.
actual like proper, like highlighting them.
True, and honestly, it's a good word you bring. Fetishization. Sorry if I'm botching that. Sometimes I
Yeah,
just
oh,
can't get
you're
it on
fine.
my tongue. But I saw this post on Reddit, and it was about Bumble. And Bumble, if you guys don't know, is a dating app, and I'm not sure if it's popular internationally or if it's just really hot in the Philippines. But I saw this Reddit post, and it said that foreigners, when they got to the Philippines, had like twice or three times as many Bumble matches, or swipes or whatever, as local would. And it was just because they came from another country, and they came to the Philippines as, for example, a Westerner. So the market for those types of relationships here, let's say a Filipino woman, most cases, I'm sure you'd agree with me. It's mostly Western men and Filipinas. Like, I think
Yeah,
that's right.
really
And
common.
yeah, and it just gets paired up a lot, and I'm not saying it's wrong per se. I'm just saying that there is an element of coercion and, I guess, fetishization, sorry, in those relationships, like, yeah, guess that's my stance on it.
Yeah. Not to say like interracial relationships are bad, but
Yes.
it's like so over like whelmingly because of this idea of like the other that's like attractive rather than actual people. I think that's a big issue. But you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Honestly, because like you see places like the Philippines or like Thailand is really marketed
yeah,
towards Westerners as being, places where it's easy to get a relationship, or
exactly.
it's
Oh god.
expedient. And I don't think it should be marketed that way, honestly. I feel like positive aspects of their living, like maybe it's cheaper to live there, it's, tropical or whatever, like that should be marketed more instead of it's a
Exactly.
nice place to, you know get out of Western culture and meet, uh you know uh have relationships easier. I don't think it should be marketed that way.
Yeah. Do you remember the old "It's more fun in the Philippines"
Yes.
ads? I think
What
those were
about
like
that ad?
really they were like I don't know because you were bringing up like sort of that. I feel like they were really cute and stuff. Like people turned it into a meme, and it obviously like fell out of popularity. But I really like those. I think as much as we're like, oh my gosh, I think it's a really like amazing country. I love it. It's home.
Truly. There are so many like tiny aspects of the Philippines that I love and adore, right? What are your favorites in here in the Philippines? Cuz it seems like such an endearing, topic for you to talk about.
Potato corner.
Okay. Potato.
That's
What?
so.
Okay. Okay, potato corner, for those of you guys who don't know, is just a French fries chain in the Philippines. It
It's
just
so
serves French
good.
fries.
It's so
What
good.
what about potato corner? Um, uh, what about potato corner epitomizes Philippine culture though?
Um. Okay, okay. So here's the thing. I was talking about this yesterday. Um.
Yeah,
I don't know, cause like here, not in the Philippines, right? I don't know why like flavored fries are such a big thing. You have like Pika Juice, you have Potato Corner, Potato Giant, you have all of these brands, right? You have
yeah.
you can, at the grocery store you can buy like French fries flavoring, like SM brand fries flavoring,
Okay.
and I don't know why, but it's always been something I associate with like home. I think it's part of like a big part of it is like nostalgia, cause
Yes.
um remember like being a kid, and then your parents like get you potato corner, right?
Yeah.
That's so
I'd get myself potato corner actually. Like my parents wouldn't get me potato corner. I'd be the one to go out and get yeah. I liked it that much.
yeah,
And flavored things have actually come into the market more actually.
yeah,
If we're talking about big TNCs like McDonald's, for example, when they're assessing their local strategy, globalization in the Philippines, they specifically targeted flavored fries, right? We have Shake
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 fries,
fries in the
yeah,
Philippines. And that's how McDonald's is targeting us. So it really is a thing if you think about it. And I'm sure you'll cover this more in your political science aspect of your degree, wouldn't you say? Like how big companies and local communities interact.
Yeah. Um, the thing is, right, this school, obviously, I'm in the law school division, right, the law school part,
Yes.
but the school as a general, what it's famous for, it's a business school. So I'd be
Okay.
surprised if we didn't like talk about brands and stuff. I know I'm not sure if like specifically like sort of localization and stuff, that kind of thing, but I feel like definitely at like some point we'd have to talk about how brands adapt, especially cuz the school's also like very international business. They have a whole like program, international business. I on a tangent. I forgot. But yeah, I
Yep.
think sort of like seeing how specifically with like food brands, seeing how like they sort of adapt to the Philippines, I think that's really like representative of, you know, like I haven't gone to McDonald's here, but I was having a conversation with I had this friend, I have this friend that I've met, and we were like we were sitting around, we were just like talking and stuff, and I was showing her like the Jollibee ads, you know, the really sad ones. Oh,
Yes.
right.
Jollibee in the Philippines.
Yeah, Jollibee. um and so we were like watching these ads, and she's like oh, that's my roommate. Sorry.
Oh,
She was like saying like, oh, what is it, oh, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, can you hear that?
y-
Is it fine?
no, no, no. I can cut it out. No worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, something that she was saying was like, oh, what kind of fast food restaurant has like a back room, right? Like has a party room, a function room. I was like,
Yeah.
all of them, right? Because it's like you don't realize that it's probably like not common for like kids to have whole ass mascot birthday parties at like you
Oh,
know,
oh yeah.
but then
Um,
here it's
s-
just common.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, what you're referring to is the fact that Jollibee, right, has these like huge party. I think even McDonald's, right,
Yeah,
too,
even
in the
McDonald's
Philippines.
here.
Yeah, and I think that's attributed to the fact that, and it is kind of a more grim fact, but one we have to accept is that the Philippines is just economically like burdened in the sense
Yeah.
that a lot of kids and like I feel like our culture is really strong in the sense that people want to celebrate, people value family a lot,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is very important, but they don't have the resources to go out in extravagance, you know. So they rent out small places in fast food chains like Jollibee and McDonald's, and kids have their parties there. And in the Philippines, it's a special occasion, but to an outsider who's living in the country, it might seem a bit, like underwhelming, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Um, I think that's also sort of like going back to Potato Corner, right? It's sort
Yes.
of it's the Philippines is always about like the small things, right?
Yeah.
It's like obviously there are these beautiful reefs, beaches, right, and then big problems, but then the things that I always remember the most are like the small things, like also part of why I said Potato Corner is I have this one friend, she goes to or she went to ISM, and sometimes she would like ask me to buy her Potato Corner just like
Okay.
randomly. So I had my grab set to my to her home, and sometimes I just buy her Potato Corner. So it's about like community and stuff, and even if it's like in the small things, like $5 flavored French fries, right?
Yes.
It's like, you know, it's close to your heart. It's about the community. It's about friends, family.
really is. There are so many like diverse communities here in the Philippines, I feel. Like, okay, one thing that my friends and I saw like a lot, there are a lot of like different, I wouldn't say I might say cultural communities, but the Philippines were big fans of other countries.
We
And
are.
that has its strong suits as well. Like for example, anime, right? There are so
Yeah.
many anime conventions and like right and there are so many anime conventions and hobby, quote unquote, hobby conventions that happen in the Philippines. And we're very accepting there, I think. In other countries it might be harder, maybe not in developed countries, like, but in other developing countries like the Philippines, I doubt you'd see like a massive anime convention, for example. But as a culture, we've done pretty well to adopt that, don't you think?
Yeah. I think specifically anime, and like shows and stuff. I think that works here because we really love like entertainment media. Like I, me personally, I have drank the Kool Aid. This is my water bottle. It's just stickers.
Sick.
Um,
Sick.
my I have a wallet up there that's just full of stickers. I keep stickers in my phone. Stickers. But I love the anime conventions, right? And I actually haven't. I didn't even realize like I don't really hear about that in like other places, but the Philippines, we produce so many artists. Like if you're on the online scene, like online art scene,
Not so much.
it's so many Filipinos. Like I don't know. You can just like you see someone and you're like, oh, that's a Philippine. There's so many like huge artists from the Philippines. I think especially in like fandom spaces, especially
Yes.
because we just love like entertainment and having fun and stuff
And community, right?
and community. Exactly.
Basically,
Very like
it
yeah.
it all revolved around potato corn. Like it
We
all
all coming
circled
back to
back.
potato corner. Uh,
Exactly, the community aspect here. I've always wanted to join communities like that actually, but that
really?
was also one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you as well. I believe we had a lot of things in common when it came to interests actually. In the back of English class, I remember you always used to play D&D with
Oh,
with some of your
yeah.
friends, right? And if you guys don't know, D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. It's basically this huge role-playing game, and it started out way back, and it's, think about like your medieval fantasy type, world, and you basically get to play as a character, and you campaign with others. And so I've tried it out myself, but clearly probably not as into it as you. What parts of D&D do you think really like attracted you to try it? Like, is it just being immersed in the world with your friends and being able to experience something other than, the reality, like, that you have to experience?
Well, honestly, like subconsciously, probably it's like a source of escapism. It's a source of stress relief. It's an excuse to hang out with the people I like that I'm friends with. But also, it's just so fun because it's like anything is possible. Uh, wait, something that happened because I'm the DM in the campaign. Something that happened
Yes.
was there was this one character who she tr- for she made a deal. She trapped her soul in a trident so that she could turn from a sea elf to a normal high elf. So because she trapped it in like the trident, she couldn't have her old class, which was sorcerer, so she's no longer magic. So what she chose to be was she chose to be a monk, which is just the funniest class
Whoa.
ever, because the entire class is just like I do a backflip and hit them 5 times in the face. It's so fun.
And to an outsider, they probably wouldn't get the references, but I'm sure if you're playing the game, right, and you're all
Yeah,
playing like five or more people, like all in the same campaign, you get to laugh about these moments like on the spot, right, and talk
yeah.
about all these things on the spot.
Yeah, like when you say it like out loud, it's like, wait a minute, you don't like get it. But then when you're inside, like in the moment, it's just like the funniest thing ever. Like I have the same friend that I buy potato corner. She's a big like she always has her clipping software open, so there sometimes, especially recently, whenever I'm feel like homesick, I like rewatch these old videos of just like people doing the stupidest stuff, like either on D and
Yes.
D or like other online games, and I'm like, oh, because they're with you. Even back home, we're always in like different areas. We're always calling online, so it's not that different from like now. I just remember, right? Which is going back to potato corner community, friends. Oh,
Community. No, that's no. It really does circle around. Actually, I have a friend who might listen to this episode as well, and he's gonna make fun of me for mentioning him again. But our dear friend Johnny has a clipping software on his PC as well. And back in quarantine, we used to play so many video games as well, and it was the same experience that you had actually. Like I look back at old clips, funny moments that happened, for example, like in Valorant or another online game, or just stupid moments we had in Discord, calling while there was a huge epidemic going on, and that helps alleviate feelings of homesickness, I feel, right?
of loneliness and all of that. Um,
Yeah.
uh, sort of, yeah. No,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, sorry, I thought you were saying something. Uh,
No.
sort of, sort of like what's it? Cause like, I feel like no, cause I guess it's like common elsewhere, or it might just be specifically like my friend group, but we have people who like live in BGC, and then we have people that live in Laguna, right? So
Okay.
pretty far, right? So while a lot of people, I guess it's harder for them. Once they like separate, it's like harder for them because they used to be just a walk away. That has never
Yes.
been the case for us. So
Uh-huh.
that's why it's sort of like adjusting. It's easier, you know. And that's
Okay.
also why we're able to play so much D&D because we're just playing it online.
Question, do you guys still play and meet like on a regular basis online?
Less regular now because school's starting again, and we actually had a session last Saturday, and
Oh
I can
wow.
tell you something, but it would be a spoiler. Here, you know what? I'll just say it because what are the chances that they hear the spoiler? There is a character that we've met that is really important to one of the players, like backstory.
Okay.
It's his ex-wife.
Oh
So
wow.
but then nobody except one person has picked it up yet. So it's really funny how they're
So
interacting with them.
this is a spoiler for okay.
Yeah.
This is a
You know,
spoiler. Yes.
hey, if you're in the campaign, you didn't hear this.
Yep. No, I'll probably post this episode a bit later. So they probably
Yeah.
would have played your campaign already. But
Nah, it's fine. They'll find out. Soon.
honestly, take this as at face value, but I'm just gonna say before we move on to the next topic that um having that, like, if it's bi-weekly or monthly meeting with some of your close friends and having something to do, having a common interest, that's really special, I think. I've been trying to find my own group as well. Like,
Yeah.
a book club, for example, or, workout group or whatever. It hasn't been easy. I still don't have one, but I'm, it really, so I am kind of jealous, but it is really special, I think, that, and you really should, I guess, take a moment to appreciate it if you haven't already. Just the fact that you get to, have a shared common interest with everyone that you get to do regularly, right?
Yeah. You know, I don't wanna cry, right? I don't wanna
Yeah.
tear up, but they're very, they're very dear to me. Like, wait, here, like all of my decoration in my
Aw.
dorm, it's like photos of them and stuff. So
Yes.
whenever I'm working, I can just like keep it, like keep them
Yes.
in my view.
Aw.
Remember that we're always connected and stuff. I'm not
Hey,
crying.
that's really sweet. It's really sweet. Thanks for sharing that portion about your own, like, personal interests in D&D, whatever. And I'd also like to just segue into something that we discussed last time, which was your love for theater, and how that has how has that shaped the person who you are today? Because theater is obviously a creative pursuit.
Yeah. First of all, just really quickly, like I'm not gonna detract. Just really quickly going back, my D&D group started off as people in Aladdin, the last show that were in D&D, but then eventually it like devolved because a ton of people had to leave. So
Oh,
we were like,
wow.
okay, let's bring on more people, and not leave Aladdin, but leave the group. Let's bring on more people, and it ended up becoming like the friend group, right?
Yes.
So first of all, theater indirectly made my whole friend group.
Wow.
And second of all, I sort of I joined theater. Like I've always loved it. I think one of the first movies like I've ever saw, it was probably something like Mulan or something. The old
Okay.
like Disney Renaissance films. So and then one of the earliest live action movies ever remember watching is like Mamma Mia and like Pitch Perfect. So all of these very like musical, movie musicals kind of things. While like theater isn't just musicals, right? Musicals are really like what
Mm-hmm.
got me into it. So I took a big break, right, from like 7th to 10th grade because of like all this stress because I was moving to a new school and then boom, pandemic hit. So it's like, oh my god. But then we were given the option to choose like IB theater, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, even though I don't like participate in theater, I still like I love watching musicals. When the Globe posts on YouTube, I try to watch it. I try to like read stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'll join theater. And then also I really love the design, the production aspects of it, like the way
Mm-hmm.
lighting is done, props, costumes. I love that. That's one of the reasons I love like one of my favorite musicals ever is Into the Woods. Uh,
Okay.
prob- so I was like, well, I'm just gonna enjoy it, like no matter what, no matter if it's like acting focused, production focused, analyzing, right? So I joined, and then when it came time for auditions for the school musical, they were like, hey, you know what? Let's just all audition, right? So originally, you know how I was Shylock, right? I
Yeah. This is
Something rotten.
basically a rendition of Something's Rotten. A school
Yeah.
into a school play, right?
Yeah. It was I got the role of Shylock. Originally, I auditioned for Lord Clapham, so that was
Okay.
like a smaller role than
Yes.
what I got. I genuinely
You got a
didn't
big role.
expect. Yeah, compared to what I auditioned for, I got a pretty big role. Like I got to do the bows with the main cast, which
Yes.
and it's like I didn't even sing or dance that show. So it's like,
Yes, you had a
what?
lot of dialogue. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was the comedic relief in a
Yeah.
comedy.
Yes.
Um
That's
so
that's adding the extra layer, the comedic relief in the comedy. Yeah.
yeah. So I did that, and then I just remembered how much I loved, like, the community of theater, like performance, all of that stuff. When you're like backstage, there was this thing I used to do. Because I had this like very small scene where in the middle of like this one music number, me and the person playing Nostradamus, right? Emily, right?
Okay.
We'd walk onto stage for like 5 seconds, say some lines, then walk off. That was like the whole scene. So that entire time while we were waiting, we'd always be like really stupidly like dancing and lip syncing to the song in the background
Aw.
before rushing over to the like the backstage choir and then singing with them.
Yes.
So it was like you really like have this like sense of feeling like you're a cog in like this huge like show. Like
You're
the
part of
show would not
something.
work. Exactly. It's like when I was okay, this is gonna be really weird. When I was watching Inside Out 2, right?
Okay.
You've watched it, right? Have
No,
you?
I haven't.
No.
I haven't
Okay.
actually. I haven't.
I'm not like really heavy
I
spoilers, but there's
I know there are personalities, like, right,
yeah,
in
there's
Inside
like
Out. Yeah, that's all I
yeah.
know.
There's this one scene where the like in real life the main character, the girl Riley, she's playing hockey and she's playing so selfishly, right? Even though it's a team sport, and I don't know why, because I'm not a sports person, right? I was
Yeah.
so mad. I was like so pissed off, and I realized, oh, it's because it sort of like translates over to theater in that if one person's like playing selfishly, like playing for themselves, if they're like a Rachel Berry,
Oh.
then
Mhm.
everybody suffers for it. Like, I don't know if you got the Rachel Berry reference. I don't.
No,
Normal
I
people
did
don't
not.
watch Glee. Do not watch Glee. Do not. I watched. It's so bad. I love it. Oh my god.
Okay.
I'm so
Okay.
sad.
Well, I won't watch Glee, but
Okay. Thank
um,
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't watch Glee. Anyways, you were saying part of the cog.
Yeah. It's theater for me. It's always been about being part of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when I started, like as a kid, like my first role was this like unnamed, like sort of not really, yeah. It was an ensemble character, and basically, we acted as narrators for the show, right? We're sort of like the narrators. We were called. It was a completely original musical that my old school did. So it was like the geek chorus. So the entire thing is that we were talking in unison, right? And then at the end we're like, wait, no, we gotta like break out of this like unison of being observers and intervene, and then we become like our own people, right? So
Okay.
I think having to learn, because our blocking, because right, there's blocking in theater. Our blocking was done
You
by the
mean like
choreographer.
sequence?
Yeah, sort of like
S-
where you're on the stage, sort of, how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
move,
yeah.
that kind of stuff, blocking. We were like blocked, not by the director, but by the choreographer. So we all had to like move in unison. We all had to, which is a lot. We weren't really, because we were fifth graders, but we were a group. So if one person like messed up, if one person forgot the line, then it didn't sound as impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So like from the very start, we had to like focus on like how to, you know,
Work
act
together.
together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really special, actually. That's what I felt as well when I joined Something's Rotten. That was my only ever production experience.
You were
But I
really good.
also thank you. I also felt like I was part of something bigger, and I was a tiny cog that worked in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not sure if it's just you and me, but I'd wager that a lot of people who partake in theater or like a large creative experience that involves other people like feel that way as well. That's one of the main drivers, I'm sure, why they're doing it as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, there's always those people who are gonna be like, "Oh, I want the solo.
They want the
I want to be the
limelight.
star." Yeah, the Sharpays, right? But then, even like Sharpay, at the end of High School Musical, she was all like, "Okay, nah, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna support you," because that's just kind of the community that it manifests. You
Oh
know.
my gosh, community again.
Potato corner. I'm getting my potato corner shirt.
that that is really funny.
Here's my potato
Oh my
corner T-shirt.
gosh.
I'm
Oh
putting it
my
on.
gosh, you have a potato corner t-shirt. That's so
Uniqlo
nice.
has them. Wait, I need to
That
iron it because I just
wow.
did my laundry.
I might just
So
get a
stupid.
potato corner t-shirt now. Sounds dang. Guys,
It's
get your
so
potato
stupid.
corner t-shirts. Dang.
We're actually. This is an advert. This is. No, this is not sponsored, guys. We're not sponsored by Uniqlo or Potato Corner. We just really love fries.
Yes, we just really love fries. Okay, I do have a few more questions
Yeah.
here. They don't like perfectly segue like from theater, but we'll give it a try.
Yeah. Go
Um
ahead.
okay, I already asked you about English class, right? But
Yeah.
you clearly are doing something related with philosophy, and philosophy requires creative expression, and I feel like your course, which is philosophy, law, economics, and political science, it really takes a lot of um, creative drive as well. Because it's a liberal arts course. Do you feel like theater has given you special leverage there? Has it influenced you some way in your course, or is that too big of a connection to make?
Um. Well, it's pretty early on, so um, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But sort of, how should I say this? Like, a lot of it, or what we're learning right now, is history, right? And so a lot of it is like understanding, like, the context, the consequences, causes and effects, the zeitgeist of like the time, right? When, well, not like directly, theater sort of, what's it called, there's this one really famous director which his method, like, for making a character, like Stanislavski, right? So he
Okay.
was like all, oh, like 300 questions and it's like define your character, right? So obviously
Wait,
that kind of
three
helps me.
300 questions define your character? Like you
Yeah.
have to answer 300 questions to define
Oh
your
yeah, you're
character?
exactly. That guy
Huh.
was like, he was like really intense. The old
Wow.
directors like Stanislavski, Meisner, that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
Yeah. But I guess sort of knowing that, at least it helps me sort of understand the context, like, uh, sort of, have a wider depth in like knowing what this person, right, in the past, this like old philosopher, maybe like
Yes.
what he was thinking, because you're able to more easily like relate to them and put yourself in their
Uh-huh.
shoes, right?
Right. It's like what you're saying is like because you've been trained to see multiple different angles and perspectives
Yeah.
of the character you're playing, you're more easily able to empathize with people in history per se.
Yeah, basically. It's
Huh.
it's empathy in general, right? And being able to understand people. Big thing, especially with history.
Right. Do you feel like history then paints an especially black and white picture of people? Um,
No. I think like just straight up no, because I mean obviously there's some people right that were like
mhm.
bad people, right?
Yeah.
You know, dictators, people who like committed genocides, right?
Yes.
But then for most people, it's like yes, you'll have these people who are like really like advanced our knowledge of the world, but then they're really bad in a different way, and you have to like if you analyze history by saying like, oh, this person was morally incorrect, therefore all of their ideas were morally incorrect. Not necessarily, you know.
True. I don't think you can assess any person like that really. Like in the real world, right? Just because a person's morally incorrect, like some decisions they can make can be correct, right? Yeah. Huh.
What's that one like Onion article that's like heartbreaking, the worst person you know just made a good point. It's like that. It's like
Yes,
a
yes, yes.
horrible person. They kind of ate with the with like whatever theory, you know.
Yes, yeah. No, like I think an example of this would be like in existentialism, for example. I'm sure you've studied existentialism to a like
A
a little
little
bit,
bit.
right? Yeah. But there was this philosopher Martin Heidegger, I think, and I
Oh.
researched him for my extended essay, and a lot of his ideas were like good ideas, like the fact that like for example, one of his ideas was that us as humans, we are born into agency or whatever. Like uh we don't get to choose what position we're born as people. We don't get to choose our wealth, our status, which country we're born in, but we do have the agency to make something out of that. That's a really core belief in existentialism. But he supported Hitler, so does that make yeah
Oh.
so does that make his previous claim wrong because he supported abhorrent regime? Like, no, but it's still you know it's still part of his history biography, I think, right?
Yeah, like obviously you have to take into account their beliefs, right? Their the ways that they acted in life when looking at their theories, because nobody lives in a vacuum. There's always like the context. But then just because you know the context doesn't make that like initial statement, you know, void.
Yeah.
It's you have to be like critical with it.
Yeah, but I feel like philosophy sometimes will neglect that though, no? Because when you're so engrossed in like learning about what the what the person said, like what philosophy theories they came up with, sometimes you'll detach that from, how they lived their life and what type of person they were, no?
That's why that's actually one of the things that I specifically like about my course, because their entire thing is like we're not asking what, we're asking why. It's like instead of saying what did they say, it's why did they
Yeah.
say this, right? So just like
Mhm.
refocusing the question. So that part I like specifically appreciate about my course. And I feel like that
Mm.
also gives you like a better knowledge and understanding of not just philosophy but most subjects in general, right?
Yeah.
Philosophy specifically. Oh, no, you go ahead.
No, 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 no. You go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that we are talking about in my philosophy class was like the thing is with philosophers, um, the early ones. Wait, I might have my notes somewhere, but I'm not gonna grab them. Originally, wisdom, Sophia, in Greek, right? It meant, first of all, like inventors, then like craftsmen, scientists, politicians, right? So, sort of like Sophia was sort of the knowledge belonging to that. But then we have
Okay.
modern Sophia, modern wisdom, which instead of like asking sort of like, how do I do this? How do I survive, right? How do I make a government? How does the world work? They started asking why. Why does this?
W-
Instead of asking what is fire, it's like why is like fire essential or something like that, you know?
Huh. I guess, yeah, yeah, yeah. How it's sort of like we've already established how to get the resources. Now we just kind of like have to piece together why we need this resource. What's the
Exactly.
deeper meaning to that resource, right?
Yeah.
It's a very polarizing thing in our culture today, I feel. I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but as privileged people and as people living in or potentially going to live in developed societies, a lot of developed societies are already under the notion that or are already under that sort of thinking, right? Why do we need fire instead of what is fire, type
Yeah.
of thinking, right? That like it goes into politics too. Like politics is in a sense group based decision making, and I feel like when you're lesser in the developmental scale, like let's say you're a smaller, less developed nation, your politics are going to look really different from like the USA, right? Because of
Yeah.
that type of thinking, right?
Even exactly even in my class, right, we were talking about why specifically Greece was the center for ancient philosophy. That's because
Yes.
Greece was rich, because they were exporting like pottery, wine, cheese, olive oil, all these
Wow.
luxuries. So the
Yes.
Greek people, they had enough time to like, let's go to the city center and stare at young boys and think about life, you know.
Yes.
So while the rest of the world was like, oh my god, we're dying, we're dying, we're dying, we're dying, they're like, yes, quite. And then they like clink their wine and they start drinking it, you know?
Exactly. And I mean you don't have to be we're not saying that you have to be rich to care about politics, but you have to be rich to care about a certain type of politics. Like I studied the French Revolution recently, and just in my own free time, and like people back then still did care about politics even in like the countryside, not like Paris was the richer area. But like in the countryside, people still cared about politics, like how it affected their crops and how it affected their livelihoods, the taxes, how much bread prices costs, those, yeah, that's the other side of politics, I guess. So yeah.
Specifically talking about the French Revolution, right? You have these people from the countryside who they're caring about the side of politics that impacts their lives, right? Like how much are taxes, how much are this. Well, there were people in like Paris, right, in France, that were like, oh my gosh, the queen is not like patriotic because she's wearing a British style of dress. It's
Exactly.
like your priorities change depending on where you are in life.
Yes, yes, exactly. um it's very funny because this is a long story, and I suggest you guys search it up yourselves. But the French Revolution really started because people, everyday ordinary people, did not want their lords and their politicians to pay taxes. Can you imagine? Like regular everyday people did not want their politicians and people in power to pay taxes because they thought it would strip them of their liberty. Like their dream was to rise the hierarchy, like climb the hierarchy. So they thought if the top of the hierarchy had to pay taxes, then there's no point, there's no reason for us to climb the hierarchy. That was the initial thinking. But by the end of things, when bread prices were freaking high and when they wanted to abdicate the king, they started the revolution. And then the funny thing is, at the in the middle of the revolution, they reverted back to the bourgeoisie should pay the taxes. So the thing they were fighting, the thing they were revolting against the king for at the start, they reverted to in the end, like in the midst of a roaring revolution. So that just shows kind of how circumstances, play a role in in whatever you're thinking, you know.
Yeah. Damn, I didn't know that actually. But yeah, damn.
Yeah,
That's
the French were heavily indebted, because they supported the American war. So
oh
King
yeah.
Louis, yeah, King Louis wanted the upperclassmen to pay taxes, but the lower classmen did not want the upperclassmen to pay taxes. And that's how
Damn.
this in yeah, that's actually one of the sparks of the French Revolution, which is which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Taxes and yes.
Damn. When you think about it hard enough, it's like, nah, taxes make sense. But like, at first, that's like, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, there's
Yeah.
just food for thought, I guess. I, you know, it's just food for thought. Okay. I think we have time for one last question. Um,
Yeah. Go
okay.
ahead.
What do you think? Okay, in English class. Okay, in English class. Okay. Um, I remember the first day of English class with Mr. Reed. He gave us a picture. Uh, this is not a pipe by uh
Oh,
by Reen Magritte, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, Reen Magritte. It's a very famous painting, and it's basically a picture of a pipe, and then the caption says, "This is not a pipe." And basically, that brought about the whole analysis of like language and literature. Like is what this person saying literal, or is this depiction symbolic of something? Do you find that to be useful in whatever you're doing right now? Just a more personal question. This is from English class. You find that way of thinking useful?
Um, the understand, like, honestly, and this is gonna be completely, like, even though I'm taking up philosophy, I find that more useful in, like, planning for like my Dungeons and Dragons stuff than an actual class because it's like um sort of like in the real world, right? Obviously you're reading into this stuff, but when you're in college, a lot of what you're reading, or specifically for me right now, a lot of what I'm reading is like textbooks that are like sort of talking about the content. Like sometimes I read like, how's it pronounced, theogony or something. I had to read the Odyssey. I had to read part of the Bible for my
Oh,
class.
yes,
So obviously, you take like the pipe. This is not a pipe, right? That kind of thinking. Obviously, it's useful in those cases, but those cases are kind of like the minority because a lot of what you learn in college is literal, right? It's
yes,
um it's all about like understanding things and then orally communicating it. But like when it comes to like fiction, right? D&D, I feel like
yeah,
it applies a lot better because you see things, right? Or when I'm planning things, I can't just say, oh, you see something, you see this and this, and then it's like really obvious, right? Part of it is like putting together the clues and stuff. So if you stuff like that, the pipe thing, it
yeah.
makes you better at understanding like puzzles, putting together puzzles, that kind of
And being
stuff,
creative, and being
and being
creative
creative.
yourself.
Exactly.
Yes,
So that's like. with that, you can sort of like apply it and see how other people, how like logic, how their train of thought will go, and
Yeah.
you like put that. And for me, I put that in my D&D games, but you can put that in like most kinds of like writing. But I think like mostly fiction, you know.
Yeah, so you're saying it's not as useful in the real world or in, what you're studying in college to, to read too much into something, right?
Like obviously analysis very important, right?
Yeah.
um Critical thinking skills, it's like, learn critical thinking in school. No, you did, it was English class. But you know, a lot of the times you can't just assume that everything is like symbolic. It's not like to the level where, like, oh, maybe the curtains were blue because it was his favorite color. But it's all,
Yeah.
it's like, sometimes a pipe is a pipe. This is a pipe.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. This is not a pipe.
Sometimes a pipe is a pipe, and it's not just a painting of a pipe. Sometimes it really is a pipe, right?
Exactly. And understanding, like, when to apply like knowledge of like symbolism and when to like accept things, right? If you keep trying to justify things instead of, accepting and moving on, I feel like overthinking is a big problem.
Yes. Like, we could have spent more time talking about global issues in English class compared to debating whether Shakespeare was racist or not, in
Exact.
my opinion.
I mean,
Drop the mic on that one.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Like, yeah, oh, is this racist because Shakespeare? And it's like, can we apply modern blah blah blah? I like the topic. I find it fun, but also that many like, sessions in class just for that. It's a bit,
Lackluster.
yeah. And
Yeah.
not to say it isn't fun, especially if you're watching this Mr. Glazer. No disrespect, Where?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but I think that about wraps up, podcast. We talked about a lot of things actually. You
Yeah.
were really insightful on, just general like world issues going on, what you wanted to do with, for example, the Philippine education system. And we talked a lot about your personal interest in D&D, and especially we circled around the idea of community and the fact,
Yeah.
right, potato corner, that's one of the endearing, aspects of the Philippines. How, we're all a community, we all help each other out and take part in something, right? So yeah, it was a really enjoyable episode, Yanni. Thank you so much for sharing, what you did today.
Thank you for inviting me on. It was fun. It's like, we got to chat, but also like, reconnect. It's fun.
Yeah.
And right? You're like saying, if you ever wanted to join D&D, right? Theoretically, there are groups.
Okay.
You know, if you
There,
just
I wonder with who though. Like,
yeah,
what type of, yeah. We'll
yeah,
figure that out. Right.
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Anyways, yeah. Thanks so much for joining the podcast, and yeah. I'll see you when I see you, and
I'll
yeah.
see you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
guys. See you later.
Thank you.